Welcome to the Beer Can Cold podcast with your hosts Will Merritt and JG Van Gran, a podcast where the suction line is always beer can cold. Take it away, boys.
Thanks, Dougie. Well, I didn't tell you. I didn't tell you. Cheers, boygies. I forgot to mention. I hired somebody. His name is Dougie. He's our announcer. He's AI. He was only like $14, but I figured it was worth it. So hope you like it. Welcome back to the Beer Can Cold podcast. Today we're super excited. Jim Gregory is with us. He works with you, Will, at Effective Media, and we're going to talk about how much does customers really cost. And I'm pretty excited about this whole subject because I'm dealing with it right now. So very excited. Jim, introduce yourself.
Hey, Jim Gregory, Effective Media Solutions, Director of Digital Marketing. I've been here for about 7 years. It's been almost 7 years since sat down to lunch with Will and another former employee and had some good Mexican food at a place here in Charlotte. And that was just the beginning.
Jim, so, I have an opinion. I have an opinion that all good decisions gets made over Mexican food. I'm just saying. Like yes, today I am. Wait. This is again for ownership here. We're doing, still have to drive home. But I do have good news. Next week, when we do this, I'll be in Florida. So then I'll be cracking one.
There you go. Well, I went to the fridge, found I didn't have any beer. So I grabbed a Spindrift that I'm drinking out of this glass. It may not look like the right color.
Oh, yes.
It's definitely Spindrift. It's not Russell's Reserve.
Well, bourbon is definitely optional on the podcast.
Okay. Yes. Well, then that's what it is.
But bourbon for Will and brandy for me, because see, in South Africa, that's, you get born and it's really not breast milk. It's actually Coke and brandy, right? So that's just kind of what we grow up on. So it's a fun thing. So, guys, let's dive into this because I'm telling you where we're currently at and the temperature I'm taking out there. And I know I'm going to get these guys listening to this podcast. And just for point of reference, it is the 5th of February. We came out of a record January for our company. I think anytime you can turn over 1 million in January, it's a good month. The highest January we've ever had. But boy, did the faucet turn off very quickly. And so screeching, man. And so we're working through some of this marketing stuff and actually asked the other day, because when we want to write incentives for our technicians or people we want to incentivize to bring more customers into the door, it's really important to know what does that customer cost me to get through the door, so I know that I'm not giving the farm away by, getting the lead through the door. So I'm going to turn it over to you guys. I have tons of questions, but, let's just kind of start there.
Well, let's go back to the Mexican restaurant first.
All right. No worries.
That's where we met Jim. Like I said, Jim's he runs the digital department, but we met at a Mexican restaurant on Woodlawn, Azteca. Is that right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
But that's kind of the running joke in our company. We go out of town and we always eat Mexican. So love Mexican food. I almost ate it last night, but I didn't. That was a special. So no, but anyway, this is it seems like it's trending around lately. I've been seeing different organizations talking about it, and we kind of were discussing what we would call this podcast today. And it's Jim, I think, came up with a good title of, is it really your customer? Are they really your customer? So, and I think this day and age, loyalty is not a thing of the past, but it's very hard to achieve loyalty, especially in this industry. And I think, honestly, a lot of contractors sometimes believe that, hey, I came out and did a service call for you 6 months ago. You're now a customer of ours. Mm-hmm. Or, I came to your house 2 years ago and we put in a new complete system, and then I asked the questions like, how often are you engaging with them after that? Because it's, as we always say, consumers, it's in one ear and out the other. And there's the deer again back there. Great.
Are you raising them?
They're pretty much on my property constantly. There's a whole family of them. But no, it's, how often are you touching these people and are you communicating with them regularly? Because I just think, consumers aren't thinking about heating. There's several I see now. You know, you got to talk to them because, heat and air is not the thing they're thinking about. They're thinking about everything else but heat and air until it breaks. And if we're not building that relationship and then, constantly reacquiring their business and keeping their business, they're going to go elsewhere, unfortunately. Right. So it just seems to be a topic of conversation lately. Like I said, I've seen a couple of news outlets talking about it and some, what does it cost to acquire a customer? So maybe we could start with that. What's the cost to acquire a new customer in the heat and air conditioning business these days? So I think you used to see a lot, $200 to $300 possibly a customer. And I think that could start to become on the low end. And of course it's going to vary depending on how you found them. It could have been simple referral, right. A neighbor, you did their neighbor's home or did their work and they saw the truck and they came over and, hey, Jim, who's the company out today? And, they had to replace my upstairs system. They were great. And then, they have a problem, in the near term and they call. That's right. A pretty inexpensive lead, but still there's all the cost of the employee, cost of, the CSRs answering the phone, potentially marketing that you're doing for your website. So I think that's maybe on the low end. So
there's so many factors. I think one of the big ones is how recognizable is your brand.
Yeah.
So if you're just starting out and nobody knows who you are, you're doing this purely through, if you're fortunate, through referrals, sure. But otherwise you're having to rely almost solely on lead generation. And that can get pretty expensive, depending on if you're using search ads or Google local service ads, or some other lead generator. It can get expensive, but you can't just factor in that one click. You have to look at all the other costs too that go into it. If you're running a branding campaign, you kind of have to factor that in as well. And I think you're right on the mark there, Will, with the $200 to $300. That's what we've been hearing for a long time. It creeps up over time. I think it might be more like $250 to $350 now, is what I'm seeing. So everything's going up with inflation. Cost per click is up, not inflation related, but it just goes up in general over time. But yeah, I would put it right around there. Now, if you get to a point where you're working for a dealer like you are, JG, where the brand is really strong in the market, you can grow with a smaller investment because the brand recognition is there. So your cost for acquiring a new customer is likely lower, at least on the marketing side. There might be some other things with the size of the company you have to factor in that make up for that, but brand is a big part of it.
Yeah.
Well, and you say it's probably easier for our brand because yes, our brand's been here for a while, and through good customer service and everything else, it's a strong brand. Mm-hmm. But what we've been finding out lately is it's incredibly strong in like a couple of zip codes. So we own the market around the shop very well, a little bit outside, right? So now I would argue that in that area, yes, $200 to $250 is the cost of that customer coming through the door. But now that we're actually expanding out into Cary, it's going to get in much more very quickly. Yeah. But I want to circle back to one thing you said, because this is something that I feel incredibly strongly about. And Will, I'm about to make our first group of enemies on this podcast. This whole thing about branding. Stop putting the damn distributor's logo on your trucks. Stop living under that identity of that equipment. And I know that they help pay for the bills. I know certain things, but negotiate that, because it doesn't have to be half the truck, orange circle or blue oval or whatever this has to be. It can be hidden away closer somewhere. Sell your brand. And it's a big deal. And I'm telling you, from experience, I've seen so many customers when I was still a territory manager will suck onto that brand so hard, then that brand has a massive coil failure or can't get parts for a couple months or anything else. And now all of a sudden you pull up in the driveway and you're trying to sell another brand, and the homeowner is like, no, wait a minute, that's on your truck. What's going on here, right? So it makes the sales process harder. And so creating and living your own brand, I think, is the thing I want to scream from the rooftop. That's a big deal.
Yeah,
I think you're exactly right. I think one way to navigate that is to keep the manufacturer's brand off of creative that isn't getting changed out frequently. So vans, no, right? It's very costly to rewrap a van. Maybe not even a billboard. Maybe, I mean, that's kind of a middle ground. But if you're looking at the digital side, you're changing out your ad copy or your display ads with some frequency, and so it's easier to make that transition that way.
Well,
it's hard to give up the marketing dollars, though. A lot of companies really rely on that. I'm not disagreeing with you there, but it's tough to navigate that. We do see. Good.
You can wrap vans with something called growth rebates. All right. So if you really want the distributor to really pay for that, then decide to go with them. That's fine. Keep the name off the van and negotiate a growth rebate. All right. I'm gonna grow this X amount this year, and then take that money and wrap your van. I mean, there's different ways to do it, and I do know that we all we are hungry for that marketing money, and I think it's good. I think it helps. I think there's loyalty involved there. All I'm saying is, let your brand be your brand. Don't tie it to someone else, because now you're letting them run your reputation.
Yeah, you're becoming more of a commodity. They're going, oh, I'm going to contact this company. They all sell the same brand, and then they get an estimate, and then they go to the other companies. Here's the model numbers. I want the exact same thing. And it comes down to, like I said, it's shopping, appliance shopping, like we discussed on the last podcast. So, but I'll straddle the fence here a little bit with this. Jim knows we do this a lot. We help a lot of contractors with their co-op. If the dollars are there, and we can do it on something on the digital side where it's a tiny logo, just enough on there where it's more about the contractor than it is the brand, but enough to qualify for co-op. That's pretty easy to do. But
I would agree with that.
I tell you, yeah, I mean, just do what you can, but it's still, the majority of it's about the brand of the customer.
Yes.
Yep. I think not a lot, maybe that might be a strong word. A number of, I think, distributors and manufacturers are starting to get wise about this. And I said this years ago when I was on the distribution side. It's like, if you've got a relationship with that brand, I'm the contractor and I have a relationship with this distributor, this brand, and my guys are selling it, our team's selling it, and we're going to promote it. Some of these distribution outlets and manufacturers are going, hey, we don't necessarily need you to market the brand. We're going to give you the funds. And that's what the distribution and manufacturers want. They want you to purchase the brand and sell it. So why do you have to go market it if purchases are really what they're after? But I guess that's kind of the way it's been forever. So I think that's started to change a little bit. I've had a few customers we've dealt with that they said, hey, we're giving you these funds, and they're not requiring anything. And then, of course, live up to their end of the bargain and hit their purchase amount. And I think that's a smart way to do it. And that's ultimately what they want. So
I think there's really only one brand of equipment that I've seen that has that level of awareness or loyalty or interest. I don't know if we want to get into specific brands, so I'll leave them out. But we can actually run a campaign with their brand as a keyword, and it can be successful. You just don't see that with others. And so I think, to your point, Will, a good way to look at it is that these customers, these homeowners, aren't loyal to the manufacturer's brand. They're loyal to the dealer. And so the manufacturer or the distributor needs to have the loyalty of their customer and kind of put them first in the same way that the dealer does their customers. I think that's a good way to look at the relationship.
I agree with all that. Now, getting back to the cost of a customer, one conversation we had today with our business coach was, yes, it costs $250, $300 to get a customer through the door, but there's things you can do where it doesn't cost you any money. And I thought one thing that we should kind of highlight today a little bit is like a self-help thing, right? So one thing that, we said the other day was, getting to a point where when your sales guy sells a job, cloverleaf the neighborhood, right? So you go to the houses on each side, hand them a business card. Hey, and you don't sell anything. Hey, my trucks are going to be at your neighbor's house. Here's my number. if you have any concerns, if they park in front of your drive, if anything goes wrong, or you know, you just have any questions, please call me. Here's my card, right? And so that has, and I've done that, and I have sold a lot of equipment that way, because there's this little bit of the let's keep up with the Joneses thing, right? And this is before equipment was $18,000 on the average. Let's be honest. But you know, it's like there was. I could go up a little bit, but you know, it was a good way to get neighborhood in involvement. And goodness gracious, if you hit the lottery on a cul-de-sac, boy, then you don't just cloverleaf 2, you can do the whole cul-de-sac, right? So it's like, you know, I just wanted to see if you guys maybe have heard of some ideas like that. That's really helpful.
Just what you're saying, you know, that's a great way to go up and knock on their door and say, hey, we just want to apologize for any inconvenience we may be presenting here. You know, we're here doing some work. Just want to let you know we'll be here if you need anything, like you're saying. But just to go around, and we've done this before on the marketing side a little bit. You can do kind of a reverse mail directly. Back in the days, we do direct mail. You take that as a target address and hit 100 homeowners, 30, even very small, like 20 or 30, just people on the street. You can do the same thing with geofencing with that, you know. But thinking about, hey, we're out doing a job in this neighborhood, and then we got another one. You know, we could target some offers specifically to that. You know? Right. And there's multiple ways digitally, and like I said, you can do it the old-fashioned way. You know, letters, mail.
If I lose a customer and I'm trying to get him back, is that more or less expensive? More. Or it's about the same. More.
Yeah.
Tell me about that.
Well, I mean, now you're not only back in the mix, right? I mean, you have dozens, if not hundreds, of competitors out there. When I look at it from the digital side. So if you're already at the top, then maybe you're really competing with 5 or 6. It just depends. But now they have any reason to go to any one of those others, but they have a reason not to go back to you. And you can't just wait. I think in those cases, you have to call and reconcile things. I think that's one thing that you know, we can take into account the cost and how we can reach them with ads and get in front of them. But if we can't appeal to their emotion through our marketing, then it's going to take a person to do that.
Right. Yeah. How often do we touch our customers, though? How often? What's that cycle?
Depends on the meeting.
Yeah.
What'd you say, Will?
I think it varies.
Okay.
We're kind of in the process with a lot of clients now of doing some email newsletter type stuff, just to touch them, and not really trying to sell much, more of just staying in front of them, you know, showing some good things that are happening in their company. And then maybe, you know, I've talked to a number of clients lately, and we had such a cold January. In December, they're behind on their maintenances right now. So it's a good plug to go, all right, it's time that we got to get maintenance scheduled. And that's a good way to do that as well. And then smiling and dialing, calling out to them. Yeah. But, you know, we typically say maybe once a month in our business. You know, I think you get too much going, you know, you're going to kind of annoy people. Maybe not. If the relationship's right, you're fine. But I think once a month is no more, you know, than that. You know, and again, depending on the time of year, it could be a little more offer driven. You know, hey, it's this time of year, we're in between seasons where we've got a financing special going. You know, there's dollars back from the manufacturer. You know, it's time to schedule your maintenance or a tune-up offer if you're sending it to people that are not maintenance customers.
Right.
But you don't want to flood them. It's not a special every day, and you know, it's not. You know, I get an email from Best Buy every day.
Yeah,
and it's funny. I see it 99% of the time. I just delete it. But every now and again, I'm like, I need something. Yeah, and similar with us, but it's more infrequent for what the contractor's selling to the consumer.
You know, you talk about that the $95 check or the $99 check or whatever. We actually talked about that today because we're doing the same thing, and it's like, okay, so what do you expect out of that, right? And my answer was, I expect my techs to be honest. Okay, so if they go to a 5-year-old furnace and you know, they don't find anything wrong with it, then collect the $59, sell a maintenance agreement, right? Let's get you doing this all the time, and we'll make sure you're safe yearly. and then move on. I know a lot of companies do that kind of thing to stir up a lot of extra revenue, and then try to go find things that's wrong with the furnace. I don't think that's the heart. And so I do hope some homeowners listen to us, because if there is a $59 or a $99, whatever, sure, have them come out. If the company has good ratings, you can find them on Google. They're honest. You do your research. Take care of the opportunity, because what us as heating and air companies are trying to do is we're trying to run the averages. Okay. So out of every 8 of those, we might find something that's wrong with the unit, and we're going to sell you a new system. And thank goodness that we did that, because people don't understand the heating season is the most dangerous season, in some of these houses. If you're burning something, if it's just heat pumps, no, but you're burning a fossil fuel, then you need to make sure it's safe. You need to get
that's the real deal.
It's the real deal. Check out, the carbon monoxide detectors, make sure everything's okay. So I guess my message is $59 checkups is not a gimmick. It's us trying to run the averages when we're slow, keeping our techs paid, and being honest. If I find something, I'm going to tell you about it. If it's not, I'm going to collect my $59. I'm going to say a maintenance agreement. I'm going to move on. Right. So that's a tech tip of the day. Sorry.
Yeah. That's how you keep a customer. That's how you keep a customer. The trust has to be there. That's one of the
the honesty and the trust. And that's where our industry gets the bad rap. These people come out and the tech gets there and it's immediately trying to sell something. Versus going, go out and say, I'm here just to check this. If it is just like a clean and check type of thing, or a true safety check. A lot of companies do that. Some will do the tune-up offer. Just say, hey, I'm here to do this. And like you said, JG, it's a fairly new system in a case. And I just want to let you know, really nothing's wrong, but a maintenance agreement would be beneficial to you. Just like taking care of your automobile. It's always the best analogy. And then if there is further stuff that needs to be done, bringing that to the homeowner's attention, and just, best thing too is showing them, involving them, grab that homeowner, bring them out, you take your cell phone, use pictures, look at what this looks like, take a picture of the blower wheel, look at this heat exchanger, if it's an older system, this is becoming dangerous. I'm not forcing you to do anything, but I just want to let you know this is where you are,
Right.
And if that comes across the right way, the consumers, they like that and they buy in on that. If it comes across as a salesy type thing, they don't.
Yeah, we do. I'm starting to do a lot of one-on-one coaching. Well, actually, I'm sorry. My service manager is starting to do a lot of one-on-one coaching, but in those one-on-one sessions here coming up, we're going to start doing some role playing, because I've been in so many role-playing scenarios, but it's in front of a bunch of people. Everybody's uncomfortable. So we really want to do these things. Role-playing is awful. Yeah. But one-on-one, I'll do it all day long, right? And so, but one of the things we want to work through is don't be a salesman, man. Like the most successful people in our industry is people that is just honest, showing the customer what the better option is, or just having a conversation with them. And so all we're starting to work with our technicians on is to say, hey, you have a dirty blower motor. Right? Is it fatal to your system at this moment? No. But if we don't clean it, here's what's going to happen. And let the customer make the decision. If the decision is no, then thank them for it, notate it in the ticket, and move on. And just be honest about it. And I tell you, we're already seeing an uptick, because, when we're sitting in these service meetings, we're talking about average ticket and we're talking about these things, the guys get they kind of feel like you want them to go out there and just sell. And that's not at all what we're trying to do, right? One of our core values here is honesty. And it's like, just go out there and be honest. And if you're honest, you'll generate enough work to pay for yourself and make the company some money.
Doing the right thing.
Yeah.
And all right, I'll throw in another stick here from a future guest, Jeff Burrishism here. He used to say, this will be funny if he hears this, if you're doing the right thing, the right things are going to happen. And it may not be the timeline that you want it. So it's like, the sales of the service techs. You may hit 3 or 4 in a row that really honestly don't need much work, or, the systems are newer. Obviously anyone can benefit from a maintenance agreement, but just doing the right stuff, the good stuff's going to happen. And it may not happen in that timeline, and I agree. That's very true. We talk about that, in any business, do the right thing, do what's best for the customer, and it's going to pay dividends down the road. And it may not be, you may suffer for a little bit, but you're doing the right thing. It's the tortoise and the hare thing. The tortoise will win overall. It's a long-term strategy in our business. Lifetime customers. lifelong customers.
Jim, what's the just to kind of switch gears a little bit, what's the best way to communicate with our customers?
So there are a couple of ways to look at it. If you can afford the time to call, I think that's great. Actually having a human to human interaction is fantastic. It's really easy to send out an email blast. You're just hitting every one of your customers. You can get targeted with it, and that involves a little more effort. But the best way to get a hold of someone with a virtually 100% open rate is going to be a text.
Okay.
You have to be careful, right? I mean, if you're using a text, the reason there's a 100% open rate is because it's disruptive. It's on somebody's phone. It's in their personal space. Most of us don't like to see that little red number on our text icon on our phones. We open it up, and if the text is short and punchy enough, you'll read it, right? But you have to do that. You have to be careful with the frequency on that. It has to be for a good reason.
Yeah.
So easiest way is an email or a text, but if you have the downtime, outbound calling.
Okay. Yeah.
And that's right now with the weather, with it being 78 degrees yesterday in February.
I don't know if our dispatch girls are watching these, but I will tell you how commendable of a job they've done the last couple of days, because and some of our techs need a little bit of downtime. It was a quick winter. It was a really long summer. So some of them are like, man, just send me home. I'm good. But we want to make sure that there's plenty of work. And so, man, we are combing open estimates. We are combing, we're still calling for maintenance agreements, commercials. Yeah, the girls are burning the phone lines up, and it's showing. We have work for this week. We have work for next week. And I think they're doing a really good job. But you're right. And it takes a special person to dial for dollars. That's an effort. It is. So we're very pleased with them. But the text message thing is interesting to me because if used correctly, it's a good thing. So earlier today, as we're talking about strategies to come up, and this text messaging thing came up, and our coach said, he had a company that did it, and 3 people called in and complained about it out of 1,000 texts they sent out, and they immediately stopped the program. 3 immediately stopped it. Oh, we can't do that. And I'm like, okay. And in his words, you got to break some eggs to make an omelet. Okay. So you're going to have a couple guys that are going to go, don't do it. So his idea was at the bottom of the text, put, if you want to opt out, text stop. Right. And so that way it legally covers you, and he legally covers everybody, and you're not bugging him for the future. Right. But I agree with you. I think the texting is strong, and we're getting ready to unleash some of that.
Yeah. Look at all the other industries, dental, medical. I was recently a couple of doctor visits, and they're texting me everything. It's like, it's the way the world communicates today. And what we're alluding a little bit about of texting with it is there's ways to do it to where you can, here's my thought process for the HVAC world is, all right, it's the beginning of February. Let's look at all the maintenance customers that were due in January we did not get to because of the cold running demand service. Let's text all of them and say, hey, you're due for your maintenance. You can do the same thing. You're due this month for February. And sometimes people would appreciate that versus, calling them. And then a lot of times, I know customers or companies, they don't have the cell phone of the customer. That's so important these days. We're calling home numbers that still have them. And, but oftentimes calling like that, they're going to leave voicemail, and then they got to call back versus you get a text, boom, right back there. And then you can do some targetable text for, different offers you could put out to people. But I think the simple thing is, scheduling maintenance, and then even texting going, hey, your technician, he's on his way. He's due for his 2 o'clock appointment. He's early. He's running a few minutes late. I know the company I work with, the tech calls me directly. He's like, let you know I'm on my way. But just think if it's done, if it's texted to the office, it might be easier. Just say, hey.
I'm a big fan of the text message that go out to the customer on text en route with his picture, with his credentials, with everything. I don't know if you heard that story, and I don't know the whole truth about it, but it was some guy that stole a van. He killed the service tech, stole the van, stole the uniform, and then went to this house and raped this woman because she had a service call scheduled. He got the truck. He saw where the next call was and just opportunity, right? And so that kind of started, I think it happened in Texas, and that kind of started this whole revolution of, upfront calling, all this other stuff. And I agree with you. I like to know who's coming to my house. I have a beautiful wife and I have a beautiful daughter. I don't need anybody at my house that I don't approve of. Sure. And so, it's like, it's a crazy world, man. And now in my house, they know how to handle the situations. So I'm not super worried about it. But at the same token, it's like, I would really like a text message to know that, Timmy the tech is on his way. This is what he looks like. This is his credential. And then something I saw the other day that I'm trying to dig into a Service Titan is a 5-star rating or a 4-star rating with reviews for that tech, right? And so I'm trying to figure out how to get that piece of our stuff activated where that customer gets that text and this is who's coming and this is how good he is and this is his reviews. That just helps him have an easier time in the home.
I think too, even beyond that, you can start to build a personal connection with personal interests. So I had a plumbing emergency a few years back, and before the guy even got to my house, I knew that we shared interests. I opened it, I was like, oh, this is interesting. I probably looked at it a little bit more than maybe most people would because it's sort of in my wheelhouse, but pulled it up and, similar interests in fishing and outdoors and all of that. And so while I'm, of course, standing over his shoulder, watching everything he does, which I'm sure he loved, I knew I could have a conversation with the guy and, build that rapport, because the customer wants to build that rapport too.
Yes.
Especially if they're kind of looking for a deal or that extra bit of service. So getting to introduce yourself, not just with a picture and the name and the rating, but a little bit about yourself personally can go a long way as well. And then I want to jump back too. So you guys have talked about some different purposes behind the texting. So if we're talking about, let's say maybe 8 texts a year as a good frequency, you kind of don't have to count in the ones that are purely out of convenience, right? So if it's a text for convenience for the customer, don't count that. If it's a text out there for an offer, you start to use up some of your credit with the customer in that way, because unless it just really hits them right where they need it, right in the moment, you're using up some credit. But some other things to do too are just weather alerts. If it's gonna be particularly bad, you get to be top of mind. If there's going to be a big freeze or a big heat wave, you get to be top of mind. But maybe you're just saying, hey, don't forget to give your pets water. It's going to be hot out there. Close your blinds. Some quick tip on how to minimize the impact of the weather. Then you get a little credit back, maybe. So, good way to think about it.
I like that. I like that a lot. And actually, I'm going to steal that idea. Is that okay, Jim?
Do it. We would have given you the idea in a monthly meeting anyway. So
this is true. Yeah. This is true. Yeah. How do we create loyalty with our customers? I know maintenance agreements obviously is one big one, but tell me a little bit more. How do we make our customers part of our family?
So Will, you guys, before I got here, you created sort of the three pillars: trust, value, fix. Now it covers pretty much everything.
I think I don't think I know. People want to trust you, and people don't buy fake trust.
Right.
And it's got to be genuine. And I think it comes from within the culture, and the company has to have a good culture to start with, and good culture is going to cultivate good people, and good people are going to do good things. So that's such a big deal, and it's hard to convey that. Sometimes digitally on a website, on a TV commercial, you can talk about it and say it, but then it ultimately comes down when they meet, face to face, and it's that's where our industry has evolved. It's communication, coming up. Like you said last time, JG, you knock on the door, don't ring the doorbell, you step back a few feet, but building that rapport with the customer. We were taught years ago that, if I have a maintenance agreement, you should send the same technician to my house every time within reason, unless technician or something like that. It's where you build a rapport. with them. And, I say that I talk a lot about this real world experiences. I said, the company I use, I know the technician.
Yeah.
Known him for years. He knows where the key is to the house. And, if he needs to come, I work from home, so I'm here a lot of the times, but sometimes I'm out and he's coming. Hey, I'm running late. And I said, hey, you know where the key is? Come on in.
Yeah.
You got it. So I think that's, the biggest thing. And that's what the consumer wants. They want to trust this company. And big part of it is the purchase, for equipment so infrequent. Again, you get them, as a maintenance customer, you're there twice a year typically, so you're building that rapport, and this is another big thing that the technicians have to do is they have got to really communicate and listen to that consumer, what's going on, find out about things and build that rapport and constantly, hey, something, it's a little stuffy in our bedroom, and maybe another return in there would help, those lines, hey, it's, this unit's kind of noisy out here, they potentially want to move the condensing unit, but communicating with them and building trust over the years and letting them know. I hear this so many times that, the contractor has a maintenance customer long term and, the system's getting some age to it. And then they never mention one thing about, hey, Mr. Homeowner, you're getting close to need to replace this system. And then the tech pops up and goes, your system's leaking and, this is a big repair. Your best interest is to replace this. And they're like, whoa, you've never said anything about this. And then that's when it's really easy to lose a customer that way. They go out and start talking to other people. And then, of course, get somebody out that's, way cheaper.
True story. I was in a service truck for a larger company and I started selling. I was allowed to start selling equipment out of the truck and I was doing really well. And I decided in my infinite wisdom that I am tired of cutting ducts apart and replacing compressors and doing all this like grimy stuff. I want to be the sales guy with the khakis, right? And so I applied and I was pulled out and I became a salesman for this company and my closing rate plummeted. And dude, you talk about a crisis, right? Because I'm this young guy, I have family to support, and all of a sudden you're commission based and there's just nothing. And I'm having a hard time. And after a lot of soul searching, I actually called one of our senior techs that I learned a lot from. And I said, hey man, I'm having a hard time. I didn't change anything. I don't understand what's going on. And he said, it's easy. Get back in the van and get back in your Cintas uniform. And he said, because people don't trust people in khakis. Yeah. And that was his way to say it. And I did. I asked them to give me an empty van, one of the older ones, and they did. I got back in my uniform, and sure enough, I started selling, right? The thing was, it was a delicate balance because I didn't want to perceive like I was lying. So, I didn't want him to feel like taken advantage of because now I show up. So I what they did for me is I would show up and I would do a maintenance check or I would do a safety check, and then I would sell the equipment from that point on. And it worked really well for me. Now, when I got older, I did step into some sales roles and I was able to be successful, but I had to go through that piece of making customers feel comfortable with me and learn that I'm not going to sell them something they didn't need. But you're right. Perception is a huge part of that customer retention and that customer thing, right? And so we all know companies. SBE coaches a lot of companies to have selling techs. We don't have it here. We have some really, really good sales guys here that build that trust because they don't really sell. They give options. But I'm a believer that they will much rather buy from somebody that looks like technically they've actually put one of these together than a guy just show up from the street.
In your home, what would you do?
Right.
The consumers ask our industry people that a lot, what's in your home and what would you put in your home, So, but trust is such a huge thing. And like I said, we've talked about we call it kind of the 3 pillars in our business of they want trust from the contractor. Number 1, number 2, they want value in their purchase. And that's not the lowest price.
Right.
This is typically the most expensive appliance in the home.
That's right.
So value for the purchase, and hopefully they buy the right value. They're not going to have to buy it again for quite some time. And then if it comes down to they need, it's the middle of the summer, middle of the winter, AC or heat's out, it's fast service. We call it fix now.
Yeah.
That's one of the most important things. But it really boils down to the trust thing. They got to trust you coming in, to the home and to your family.
Well, and I think to come full circle, you build that trust by constant communication. If they know a lot about the company, about, one of the owners stepping out, or, a birthday or a birth within the company, it feels like they're part of that family, and it kind of brings it full circle. So I really like your newsletter idea, but I think the newsletter, especially in larger companies like ours, should go inside and outside. And I think that a newsletter to our, it's something that I've been putting on the back burner I really want to do, but sending out a newsletter to our employees once a month to just tell them about things that's going. We've not done it here lately, and it's on me. I've just had a lot of other stuff going on, trying to do this thing called launching a podcast and actually do my day job and all kinds of stuff.
Well, when you get busy, and the company grows, your stuff starts happening, and you're like, wait, what? This is going on. I'm sure as big as your company is, JG. There's a lot of stuff going on that people have no idea about.
Yeah,
it's did that, or we offer that.
Yeah, and I do want us to do one whole podcast on EOS one time, because that structure actually does say that we should have quarterly meetings, and we missed the one in January, just weather related, and it was cold and so forth. So Q1 we're working on goals that not everybody know about, and so it kind of feels a little weird. But Q2 we will have our meeting, and we'll get the company involved. But I think just a newsletter will do great wonders. So actually, I just wrote it down. So tomorrow I'll be working on that. I'll send it out. I'm just kind of scolded myself. So it's really good. Will, are we going to try to call somebody tonight, or are we going to put that one on hold?
That's up to you. Totally. I've been warning some people.
Yeah. So I'm trying to think of a customer that I used to have that might answer the phone and give us like, what's a question we can ask them that's kind of in line with today? Like how do they create?
How do they keep their customers? What do they do for retention?
Let's see.
It's getting tougher and tougher. Look at the economy we're in. It's just been inflation, and people are starting to look. How can I cut this? How can I cut that? And you really better be building value in your maintenance program this day and age, or you're going to lose maintenance customers, because people, hey, can I cut a little something here? Can I cut a little something there?
Yeah. Well, let's see if well, no, I don't think he'll answer. I'm trying to find somebody that'll actually answer. This is a maybe. He would be very well spoken, and it might be a big maybe. So let's see.
Do I know this person?
I think you do.
Who do you know?
Mr. Alexander.
Hey, JG.
Thank you very much for answering the phone, sir. You are on the Beer Can Cold podcast with Will Merritt and Jim Gregory.
Okay.
Well, Franks, thank you for answering the phone. I thought about you because we just did a whole podcast on how to keep and retain your customers. And I was like, I know a guy that does a pretty good job at this, and I'll see if he answers the phone. So our question to you tonight is, what do you do that's special to keep and retain your customers?
You're on the air?
Well, we're recording. It'll be on the air later.
We're not live, Frank.
And let's be honest, Frank, we have like 5 people that watch this, and 2 of them are me and Will.
So far.
We hadn't spoken to you in a while. How you doing?
Good, buddy. Thank you.
We listen to the customers and set up a unique identifier. A uniqueness for our company that address that, and that's one of the reasons how we keep new customers. The other is just we screen our technicians and hold them to very high standards so that they don't give the customer the wrong feeling or trust.
Boy, you just summed up the entire podcast in 2 sentences. That's exactly what we talked about today. Is how hard it is to find good people, to build trust with your customers, because the underlying thing of the whole conversation is how expensive it is to get a customer through the door, right? And when you get them through the door, how do you keep and maintain them? And I think you're exactly right. I think building the trust is a big deal.
Oh, it's the ultimate deal. Is like, if you don't have their trust, you're not going to do very well. You're going to get kicked out the door, and the customer's going to pay you $98 to just get the heck off their property.
Yeah,
Yep.
no, you're right. You're absolutely right. And then talk to me a little bit about your hiring process, because I think we are very much in the same vein. And I talked about this on one of our previous podcasts about the screening process. Do you use a disc profile assessment as well?
No, not yet. I mean, I haven't found a cost-effective one that I could use on a large scale.
Okay.
We do use them internally once people are on board for a while. But the main thing is that we use just like right out of the book Traction.
Yes.
We have a people analyzer, and we hold them to that thing, and we're trying to see whether or not they fit the company goals. I mean, I had a plumber walk in the other day for an interview, and first question we asked him was, why did you leave your last company? I was shocked at his answer. His answer was, well, I did some side work, and I guess the owner didn't really like that.
That was very
I stood
honest.
up and I said, thank you very much. We're not a good fit, and walked out of the room.
Yes. I have heard similar horror stories. Well, since you brought up the book Traction, I would like to give an open invite to you. We'll set up a date, but we would love to have you as a guest on our podcast, because I want to tell everybody about EOS. We're doing as well, and I think it just sets companies apart. I think it really focuses and do a lot of really good things. So would you be open to be a guest one Wednesday evening?
Yeah, that shouldn't be a problem.
That's awesome. Well, thank you so much for answering the phone, Frank. And I promise I'll call you as soon as we finish recording here. But this is one of the things we do. We like to blindside people with phone calls, just see if they'll answer.
Catch them off guard, or else they'll help their defenses up, right?
That's right.
Full transparency, Frank. Honesty.
Yeah.
Well, thanks, buddy. I'll call you a little later.
All right. Talk to you later.
All right. Bye.
Thanks.
I think that could work. It's getting better and better. It
Oh,
really
again,
is.
I think it worked. We do more of these. We tease it out more.
Yeah.
I've already been teasing it out a little bit, but really starting to tease out on social media. I've been telling people, if you get the call from one of us at 5 o'clock, between 5 and 6 on Wednesday, you're probably gonna be on the podcast. So,
well, it's good.
I feel big now though, because with you guys having been in the industry for so long, I thought there was no chance that the person you were calling I would know, but I did.
That's Frank.
Yeah.
Yeah. Frank's a good guy, man. I really like Frank. And there was actually 3 or 4 names that went through my head, but I was like, who? I know who to answer, right? And I kind of knew he might say something about EOS, so I can kind of set up the next podcast. See,
I've got the book. You turned me on to it. We ordered it at the last consortium. It's beside the bed. I've read chapter 1.
I know it too. The disc assessment, because you and I have talked about that a couple of times, and it really does come down to that. It's that frontline employee that's there in the home in an intimate setting. The customer has to make a decision about how much they're going to trust them because they're in the home already.
Yeah.
The only person that can build that rapport. And so you have to have the right person, and you guys are already doing the work ahead of time with these personality tests to make sure that you have the right kind of person in the room with that customer. So you guys are doing it exactly right, I think. And it's tough too, because the industry has struggled for a long time with finding technicians.
Yeah.
And so it's very easy to be tempted to just hire whoever is available that has the skill set or maybe a little bit of experience. Mm-hmm. But the guys that are doing it right are the ones that are finding somebody that, even if they don't have experience, they have the right personality, and they bring them in and they train them. My maintenance tech, I think he's been to the house twice. He's been with the company I use for less than a year, and he's great. I trust him implicitly. I trust the business implicitly, and we know the owners. But he's the right personality. They found him in a restaurant. I think he was their server, and they said, you know what, you would be great at this.
Yeah.
What do you think? And so they trained him up, and he's popular with the customers.
Yep. We talked about this last podcast, right? And actually since then, well, we hired a guy, we hired a tech. So I've effective 5 fairly large hires since I've been here in the last 6 months, and actually more, but the last 5, we have done the disc profile assessments, and one didn't work out, and we had to let him go. Actually, it was a mutual, sideways. Come to find out, he had help with his disc profile assessment because his wife helped him do it. So we stopped doing it at home, right? We're doing them here now. Nothing. He didn't know.
He didn't fill it out.
He didn't know, right? But we were starting to try to manage him, and we would do things and say things that's in a disc, and it didn't work, and so it's just not a good fit. Great guy. He's gone on to bigger and greener pastures, so we left amicably. But it's like since then they do the disc here, and we have this little thing going on where Al will go in there, give him the disc. I sit in my office, and as soon as it pops in my email, I read it, and if we think it's a good fit, I'll go in there and help with the interview. If I don't, then I just you just move on. And so it's working out really well. But you're right. It's, if a customer is that expensive to get through the door, I want my best hitter on base when he gets the opportunity to, and I want to hit him. I want to hit a home run every time. Yeah. So, I think it all is encompassing hiring the right people, making sure that you have the value-based company you're trying to build, and then going from there. So I completely agree with all that.
Yeah, it's the lifeblood. There's if you're not gaining and retaining customers and keeping them in your fold and growing your flock,
right.
It's just so much work, and there's so much ups and downs. Even the companies that have a big maintenance base, it's still a lot of ups and downs. But boy, it definitely smooths things out when you've got you're hitting the KPIs of 500 maintenance agreements per service tech.
You're right.
Things, and again, you're building the trust, you're building a rapport, the relationship with these people, and then it comes to the point where it's just like anything else in life. You've built that with this person. You're the person that takes care of your automobile. Come in. All right. Well, it's you need brakes today. I'm like, really? Car's got 189,000 miles on it. He's like, probably need rotors too. I thought, let's just do the brakes. But
stick with the brakes.
But it's that type of thing. It's that building that trust and rapport, and that only happens typically over time. You can build trust quickly. Like I like these.
Yeah.
I like this girl. I seem to trust him, but you really don't get that until you've had multiple experiences and visits with them. And time, it just takes over time, and hopefully the company gets time to shine and show that.
I agree.
Start to meet other people. We talk about that in our company. I always, whenever possible, I want our customers meeting more of our people. We did a lunch last Friday. Jim and some of his team met that morning, and then we kind of coincided. One of our clients wanted to get lunch, and I said, well, let's meet together. And they kind of, they talked to some of the guys. Jim knew him. I don't know if the rest knew each other or not, but it was nice to commingle.
Right.
Get sit across from each other, break bread together, and I think
it helped too because the guys are just good guys. It's easy to talk to. And
sure, great guys.
Uncomfortable for my team, just normal people. And
I hang out with those guys, regardless if it was a work relationship, customer.
Yeah, exactly.
They're just good people. That's
well,
guys.
You know what Ken Baker used to say, right? A customer is king, and a good employee is equal to a customer.
Yeah.
So I live my life by that. So guys,
maybe we need Ken on here at some time.
I think so. You think he will drop too many bloodies? Like he'll say bloody all the time. And it's going to be a whole thing.
Yeah, that doesn't mean anything here.
PG-13. We got to worry about.
Well, guys, it was a great hour. I think we actually share a lot of value, and I think we keep getting better. Let's just keep getting better and better. So
I think we can. None of us are afraid to talk.
No.
I think it's just enjoyable to do. We're all passionate about the subjects, in the business, and I think our ultimate goal is we want to improve the industry. I think that we've all seen that for many years, and that's where it's at. We just want to keep raising the bar.
High tides raises all ships, right?
Yes.
So, all right. Well, please like, subscribe, and follow us. We're on YouTube right now. Channel there. We are also on Spotify. Will, I'm going to need you guys' help to get onto Apple. We probably get into Apple podcasting too. I don't know. But we're close to with LinkedIn. We just need some more followers, but please take an opportunity.
It's poker night before I'm leaving after this, and so I will grab them and get their phones, and so we'll get
That's
at least
awesome.
6 more tonight.
Well, and we'll share a QR code for everybody to just scan on and follow us on YouTube. That'll be a big help. So, Jim, thank you so much. I know it was a little short notice. Great conversation tonight.
Thanks for having me.
We brought a lot of value, and we have a big podcast coming up, and I'm not going to say what it is, Will. Me and you, like, you pulled it off. You got 2 fairly big guests, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And it's going to be that one's going to be fun, and I'm really excited about that one.
Yeah, we got to coordinate their schedules, but gotten commitment. So a lot of people I talk to, I'm like, would you be interested? And everybody's like, it's so funny. Everybody's like, yes. Yeah.
Well, great. We'll definitely
that easy.
So everybody wants to be on TV.
That's right.
It's just fun. I'm glad you pushed this through. Jim knew I tried to start this years ago and got totally sidetracked, and you had the experience with it, so it's great. We appreciate it. Thank you.
No, good. All right, guys, have a great night, and we will be back next Wednesday. Well, actually, this will air Thursday. We'll be back next Thursday.
There you go.
All right. Bye.
Peace out.
See you guys.
Thank you.